Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Millennium TV News. This is Zaria Nurman with top stories. 50 killed in Orlando gay nightclub shooting. CIA Chief Brennan, secret US report on 9/11 will absolve Saudi. Libyan forces retake Sirte port from IS militants. Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina vows to end deadly attacks. Euro 2016, England and Russia given disqualification warning. Here's now the detail. At least 50 people have been killed and some 62 injured in a shooting at a gay nightclub in Orlando, Florida. Orlando police said officers entered the Pulse Club about 3 hours after shooting unfolded and killed the gunman who had taken hostages. The name of the suspect was Omar Mateen, aged 29. Police called the shooting an act of terrorism, but said they did not know if it was domestic or international. It is believed that the suspect was not on a terrorism watch list, although he was currently being investigated for an unrelated criminal act. Relatives have been gathering at local hospitals, desperate for news of their loved ones. Many had received calls and texts from loved ones inside the club as the siege began, and some have heard nothing since. President Barack Obama was briefed about the shooting and asked to receive regular updates, a White House statement said. Orlando Police Chief John Minnis said the attack began at 6 GMT. There was an exchange of fire with a police officer working at the club, but it is unclear whether that was inside or outside the venue.
My son was in there with his boyfriend and 2 other guys. They heard about 20 shots.
Get out of here.
Oh my God, dude. That went bam, 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 bam.
People screaming and falling.
Everybody, what's wrong?
The Prime Minister said Brexit could cause a black hole in the public finances and threaten the triple law guaranteeing state pension increases. He told Andrew Marr our economy would be smaller if the UK left the single market, leading to difficult choices. Voteless said it was a frantic attempt to rescue a failing campaign. With less than a fortnight to go before the referendum on the UK's EU membership on 23rd June, other developments include on the penultimate weekend before the crunch vote, Mr. Cameron has used a series of newspaper articles and a BBC interview to warn of the financial consequences of Brexit. saying it could put at risk ring-fenced future funding for public services. He said forecasts from the Institute for Fiscal Studies suggested Brexit could lead to a shortfall in the public finances of between £20 billion and £40 billion, which would need to be filled either by tax rises, extra borrowing or spending cuts. In their 2015 election manifesto, the Conservatives promised to extend the so-called triple lock on state pensions, a guarantee that they rise every year by at least 2.5% or the rate of inflation or growth in earnings if it is higher until 2020. The probable publication of classified parts of a 2002 congressional report into the 9/11 attacks will clear Saudi Arabia of any responsibility, CIA Chief Brennan has said. Keeping 28 pages of the report secret has sparkled speculation that the attack had received official Saudi support. The classified pages are also central to a dispute over whether the families of 9/11 victims should be able to sue the Saudi government. Saudi Arabia denies any involvement. 15 out of the 19 hijackers in 2001 were Saudi citizens. Former Senator Bob Graham, who headed the Senate Intelligence Committee that compiled the classified report in 2002, has said that Saudi officials did provide assistance to the 9/11 hijackers, but Mr. Brennan said this was not the case. So these 28 pages, I believe, are going to come out, and I think it's good that they come out. People shouldn't take them as evidence of Saudi complicity in the attacks, Mr. Brennan said in an interview with Saudi-owned Arabia TV. Mr. Brennan also described the 28-page section of the 2002 report as merely a preliminary review. The 9/11 Commission looked very thoroughly at these allegations of Saudi involvement. Their conclusion was that there was no evidence to indicate that the Saudi government as an institution or senior Saudi officials individually had supported the 9/11 attacks, he said. Saudi Arabia's foreign minister has warned that the move could cause his government to withdraw US investments. Mr. Graham has said that the White House would decide whether to release the classified pages this month. Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro has said that a referendum the opposition is trying to call to oust him will not place this year. There was no time to organize a recall referendum, said Mr. Maduro. On Friday, the National Electoral Council declared more than 600,000 signatures on a petition for the referendum invalid. The opposition says the electoral authorities are working alongside the government to derail the process. Opposition leaders say their signatures on the petition have also been invalidated, revealing the Electoral Council's bias. Former presidential candidate Henrik Capriles is among those who say their signatures have been ruled out for failing to meet the requirements. The Speaker of the National Assembly, Henry Ramasaluk, described the move as shameful and a provocation. Two former Guatemalan ministers have been arrested as part of a major investigation led by United Nations-backed commissions. The two men, Manuel Lopez Ambrosio and Mauricio Lopez Bonilla, have been accused of using public funds to buy a helicopter that was given as a gift to former President Otto Perez Molina. He was arrested in September after standing down amid widespread anti-corruption protests. Mr. Perez Molina denies all the charges. Mr. Lopez Ambrosio served as Defense Minister and Mr. Lopez Bonilla as Interior Minister in Mr. Perez Molina's government. They are facing several charges, including money laundering and conspiracy. Libyan forces say they have retaken control of the port in the city of Sirte after fierce fighting with militants from so-called Islamic State. Sirte is the most significant IS stronghold outside Iraq and Syria. Air and missile strikes have hit IS positions this week, officials said. A spokesman said troops were moving closer to the city center. The forces aligned to the UN-backed unity government in Tripoli began the battle to retake the city last month. A spokesman, Ahmed Hadiya, told IS forces had weakened, but not totally broken down. He said the troops were encircling part of the city. But their pastime could be a thing of the past after police seized 81 vehicles they say were being raced. The number plates had been taken off to make the cars harder to identify. Drivers will face 100,000 dirham fines, $27,000, and owners will need to pay 50,000 dirham, local media say. Dubai Police Chief Major General Khamis Al-Mazina said traffic patrols tracked a number of reckless drivers and seized 81 vehicles, though he did not specify when. He said the owners were using or preparing to use their cars for illegal races. Other cars were caught in dangerous performance and reckless driving that endangered road users. He said some of the drivers reached speeds of 196 meters per hour while trying to escape police patrols. If the owners do not pay the fine within 3 months, police have the right to sell the vehicles, the Khaleej Times newspaper reports. Luxury cars are hugely popular in the wealthy Gulf Emirate. Even the police force drive Lamborghinis, Porsches, and Aston Martins. Transport officials said last year that the number of vehicles in Dubai had doubled in the previous 8 years, giving them more cars per person than New York or London. Few years will take. Shanghai Pudong Airport explosion wounds 4. Pakistan laws fail to check violence against women. Walmart Canada to stop accepting visa. Air France pilots strike hits Euro 2016. Let's move on to the next news. A man has set off a homemade explosive device at Shanghai International Airport, injuring 4 people as well as himself, Chinese officials say. The attacker threw a bottle containing explosives which went off near a check-in counter in Terminal 2. The man then took out a knife and stabbed his own neck, officials say. In 2013, a man in a wheelchair detonated a bomb at Beijing airport to highlight a personal grievance. He was later sentenced to 6 years in prison. The latest incident happened at about 15 on Sunday. Eyewitness Ni Bowen told the Associated Press news agency that she was waiting to check in at Pudong International Airport when there was a loud bang. A beer bottle filled with white smoke rolled right by my feet. I was scared and made off at once, she said. The 4 injured people were taken to hospital. There is no word about their condition or the identity of the attacker. 22-year-old Amara rarely stepped out of her family's haveli or mansion in a remote village in Pakistan's Sindh province. Her father, a feudal lord, never felt the need to send her to school or anywhere else and provided her with all of life's comforts and luxuries within the confines of the haveli. I had never imagined I would leave the haveli for a place like this, but my father left me with no other option when he told me I must marry the alcoholic, twice married man he had chosen for me. Amara told inside a tiny room at a women's shelter home in Pakistan's southern city of Karachi. It has been 6 months since she ran away from home along with her 9-year-old sister, fearing the same fate for her once she grew up. I grew up watching my father decide the fate of too many innocent, helpless women in Karo-Kari honor-killing cases. Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina said her government would do whatever it takes to stop the attacks. Her comments came a day after police launched a concerted drive against Islamists, arresting more than 3,000 people. The opposition has accused the government of using the operation to target political opponents. It may take time, but God willing, we will be able to bring under control, Ms. Hasina said at a meeting of a ruling Army League party. Where will the criminals hide? Each and every killer will be brought to book, she added. Police launched the week-long campaign on Friday, saying they were focused on arresting Islamist militants. However, critics say many ordinary criminals were among those held. About 40 people, including secular bloggers, academics, gay rights activists, and members of religious minorities, have been killed in attacks in the past few years. On Friday, a Hindu monastery worker was attacked to death in Pabna district. In the past week, a Hindu priest, a Christian grocer, and the wife of an anti-terror police officer were all killed in attacks by suspected Islamist militants. Analysts say the killing of a police officer's wife last Sunday may have triggered the crackdown. Here's now the business news. Customers will no longer be able to use the card in its Thunder Bay store from 18 July, and the move will be phased in across the country. Visa accused Walmart of putting its own financial interests ahead of its customers. Walmart made this business decision despite Visa offering one of the lowest rates available to any merchant in the country, a spokesperson said. The supermarket chain said it paid more than $100 million in credit card fees each year, but did not break that down for the specific companies. All credit cards charge fees to retailers, generally between 1% and 2.5% of the sale cost. Visa and MasterCard usually charge variable fees according to the type of the card used, while American Express generally charges a flat fee. To ensure we're taking care of our customers' best interests and delivering on our promise of saving customers money, we constantly work to reduce our operating costs, including credit card fees, Walmart Canada said. However, the company added that it remained optimistic that we will reach an agreement with Visa. Walmart has some 370 stores in Canada. Last month, the company as a whole reported a 7.8% fall in profit for the first 3 months of the year to $3.8 billion. About a quarter of Air France pilots were on strike, but the company said more than 80% of flights went ahead. Some Paris-Marseille flights were cancelled on Saturday, affecting fans traveling to the England-Russia game. The strike will continue for 3 more days. The pilots' union SPAF is taking action because of planned pay cuts and changes to working conditions. It is one of many unions taking action. Others are striking because they want the government to scrap new labor laws that will make it easier to hire and fire people. Rubbish will not be collected in Paris until Wednesday. Train services have only recently resumed after a 9-day strike, and at the end of last month, many petrol stations ran dry when protesters blockaded oil refineries. Viewers, now the sports news. UEFA has threatened to disqualify England and Russia from Euro 2016 if there is any further violence by fans. It has begun disciplinary proceedings against Russia but not England after totally unacceptable scenes at Saturday's England-Russia game. Footage appeared to show Russia fans rush at England supporters after the Euro 2016 one-on-one draw in Marseille. Charges against Russia are for crowd disturbances, racist behavior, and setting of fireworks, UEFA confirmed. There were issues with segregation of fans, the body admitted, promising security would be strengthened. Witnesses said trouble began in the stadium after flares were let off by Russian fans near the end of the game. Some then climbed across barriers designed to keep rival fans apart. A number of Russia supporters appeared to kick and punch fleeing England fans who were forced to clamber over fencing to escape. Earlier in the day, England, Russia and local fans were embroiled in ugly clashes with riot police, with a number of bloodied fans being taken to hospital. Viewers, let's have a look at Millennium TV news recap. 50 killed in Orlando gay nightclub shooting. CIA Chief Brennan, secret US report on 9/11 will absolve Saudi. Libyan forces retake Sirte port from IS militants. Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina vows to end deadly attacks. Euro 2016, England and Russia given disqualification warning. Viewers, now the detail. You are up to date with our top stories so far here on Millennium TV, and don't forget to log in to www.millenniumtv.net. Thank you and stay with Millennium TV. Allah Hafiz.